how did you get affiliated with the military after that then?
Okay, well, when I graduated, I received a commission, second lieutenant commission in the Army Reserves. And during the time I was going to school, I majored in mechanical engineering and decided to be in the artillery in the Army if I ever had to go. So I studied, we had ROTC training all 4 years that I was in A&M. And for 2 of those years, we were in what you called advanced ROTC. One of those summers, we went to a military camp for 6 weeks to learn more about the military. So during the summer between the junior and senior year, I spent 6 weeks in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, studying more about the artillery. So when I finally graduated in 1949, I left with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering and a second lieutenant commission in the Artillery Reserves. And during that time, the first year after I got out from 1949 to 1950, I had gotten a job with a power plant, electricity generators in West Texas. And my reserve commission, all the papers were sent to a place in Midland, Texas, which was the headquarters for the U.S. Army Reserve in West Texas at the time. When the war started in 1950, the unit I was in Midland was activated. They called me one morning. I was living in a small bunkhouse, and they called me and said, "You're in the Army now." That was about in August of 1950. And you will report immediately to the headquarters in Midland. So that's how I got in. I went in as a second lieutenant with a commission in the artillery.
So basically you decided to enlist during college, is that correct?
Decided to what?
Did you basically enlist into just the military in college, in the ROTC?
Yeah, that's when I got my basic training is through the ROTC in college.
And just to be clear, this ROTC was basically to further your education on mechanical engineering.
Well, the ROTC was to educate us on the military side. Texas A&M at that time required everyone that went to be in the ROTC. You didn't have a choice. If you were physically able, you were in the ROTC program. But the first 2 years was mandatory. The second 2 years, you actually signed a contract with the U.S. Army to say, I will do all of this, study the ROTC program. And they paid us a small amount. I think it was $30 a month or something like that to be in the ROTC program. And I liked it. I liked the military. So I enjoyed the study and was glad to be a part of it. But we wore a uniform in college every day.
Mm-hmm.
So there you just seemed like you were in the early stages of military training.
So when your division got activated, then how did you react? And how did people around you, like your family, react?
Well, they were concerned that things that were going on in Korea at that time were not good. The soldiers that were there were getting beaten up pretty good. So I didn't know. I went in for 2 years. We had a mandatory, what they call Category 4, that as a young officer, you would go in and commit to 2 years service. And they sent us to Camp Chaffee, Arkansas, to do replacement training. During that time, we had, as you probably know, we were not well equipped as far as the military and the people were concerned. So we immediately began training the draftees and those who volunteered in basic training for the Army and for combat. So I actually stayed in Camp Chaffee as an artillery officer for about a year, training replacements that were being sent to Korea.